Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, we'll be discussing the 1981, the 1981 romantic comedy Arthur, starring Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli, John Gielgud, who won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for this role, and the pre-Ellie Law, Jill Eikenberry. Who, other than being on Ellie Law, this is unfortunately the only role that she's known for. Of course, this movie came out in 1981, like I said, and there was a remake which didn't do so well in the box office. This one did, and of course, this movie promotes alcoholism, like you wouldn't believe. The movie, like I said, stars Dudley Moore as the title character Arthur, and who is a billionaire playboy who, like, 9 times out of 10 is drunk as a skunk. He's constantly drinking from the time he gets up in the morning to when he passes out. Literally, it's why he didn't die of alcohol poisoning, because he's drunk all day long. And the premise of the movie is that he is stuck in an arranged marriage type situation, because he's supposed to marry, got stuck in an arranged marriage. Now, of course, this movie came out in 1981. There was such thing as arranged marriages, even in the United States. Even in 1981, there's no such thing as an arranged marriage in the United States. But anyway, he gets stuck because his parents, his grandparents, his aunt was pushing Arthur to marry the daughter of his father's business partner. So his business partner has a daughter who was played by Jill Eikenberry in the film, and they want him, or Arthur's family wants him to marry this woman, and so you keep business going, because because the business partner says, "Oh, if Arthur doesn't marry my daughter, I'm gonna break up the partnership." It's almost like blackmail. They say, if you don't keep the business going, the only way that will be your business partner is if your son marries my daughter. That's basically the plot. But the point is that Arthur doesn't love the daughter, and he feels that he shouldn't be forced to marry somebody who he doesn't love. And the problem is that Arthur doesn't love anybody. He never really fell in love with anybody. So he feels that if he doesn't love her, why should he marry her? And so his family just push him and say, well, you should marry her so we can get the business going, and yada yada yada. And meanwhile, on a time when Arthur is shopping at Bergdorf Goodman in New York City, which is a very expensive department store. And it's very near Central Park or Fifth Avenue in New York City. For those of you who don't know where Bergdorf Goodman is, it's right near the Plaza Hotel. Literally across the street from the Plaza Hotel. And he ends up, and Dudley Moore ends up meeting Liza Minnelli. And I'm sad to say this is really the last decent movie role that Liza Minnelli has had. I mean, she hasn't done that many movies after Arthur. Maybe like, I can count literally on one hand how many movies after this that Liza Minnelli had. Because of all of her personal problems or of her health issues. She only did maybe two other movies after this one, unfortunately. And this was literally one of the few musical roles that Liza Minnelli didn't have. It's interesting to see her in a movie role which she doesn't sing anything. It's very weird. Anyway, Liza Minnelli is shoplifting in Bergdorf Goodman, and she gets caught. But Arthur sees her butt. Basically, it's I'm going to buy the time for her, but she ran out of the store before I could, officially pay for it. And which is, we all know is a bunch of baloney. But the store security, bought, bought that excuse. They believed it because naturally Arthur is supposed to be such a great customer in the store and stuff. So this store security let it pass, and after that, Dudley Moore or Arthur fell in love with Liza Minnelli, which at that time who wouldn't? I mean, Liza Minnelli was a major hottie there. I don't think she was even 40 years old yet, and she was a major hottie at the time, and so they ended up falling in love. They went out a couple of times, and they fell. And Dudley Moore wanted to marry Liza Minnelli, but he's stuck in this, arranged marriage type thing. And so, what happened was, of course, eventually, by the end of this movie, Arthur does break up the arranged marriage with Jill Eikenberry's character, and wants to marry Liza Minnelli, which he didn't actually marry at the end of this film. Or Liza Minnelli and Arthur, or Dudley Moore, they didn't marry at the end of this film, but they made vows to each other in the church. And the aunt, or Arthur's aunt, was going to leave him $750 million, decides to cut him off. And that's another reason why Arthur was forced to be in this arranged marriage with this girl, or with Jill Eikenberry's character. And that is because if he doesn't marry the girl, not only will the business fall apart, but Arthur will be cut off from the family. I mean this is not right. To force somebody to marry someone, otherwise he got cut off from the family, which is absolutely, and that's a plot like that today is not going to fly. That's probably why the remake, I forgot when the remake was made, like in 2008, 2009, there was a remake that was of Arthur was made. That's when the remake didn't work out too well, because the original one, for some reason, that worked. In 1981, this plot worked, but for the remake, actually, of course, it didn't. The remake of Arthur just didn't work because the chemistry was not there, the music wasn't there. Which we're going to get in a second with the music, but the plot today would not work. In 1981, for some reason, it did, and it was more believable in 1981 than it is in 2021. 4 years later, this plot would not work, but worked then. Maybe because of the chemistry of the actors and how the pacing of the movie and everything, it worked in 1981. Today, this plot won't work. So, if you don't marry this girl, even though we're going to give you almost $1 billion, we're going to completely cut you off if you don't marry this girl. Which is just a bunch of total, crap. And of course, at the end of the movie, she says, "Forget it." Other says, "Forget it. The hell with the money. The hell with the girl. I want to marry who I want, and I want to marry Liza Minnelli's character." And so that's what happens in the end of the movie. Is that in the end of the movie he gets cut off, and that's basically how the movie ends. And it was a good. I'm not saying it's not a bad movie. I'm glad the movie was short. If this movie was a 2-hour movie, if this movie was 20 minutes longer, people would say, "Forget." It would have been better. I think it would have been better if you actually saw Liza Minnelli and Dudley Moore getting married at the end of the film, or at least see them get married at City Hall, or ask the priest to marry them. It would have been better. And then they walk off and say, and say now. Or the aunt would say, "Okay, now you're cut off," and that's it. And that's how leave them end the movie like that. But if they did do it that way, it would leave more like a cliffhanger, and it would be a sequel, which eventually was called Arthur 2 on the Rocks. And the movie was not as good as the original film. And the movie kind of like bombed at the box office, and unfortunately it did. Because it didn't have the same chemistry as the first movie did. But, they did make the sequel, and you saw him on the rock, and saw him pour, Arthur pour, and everything else. And I never saw the sequel, because this wasn't interested in seeing the sequel. But the original movie was a classic movie at the time, and one of the things that worked was not only the on-screen chemistry between Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli, but also John Gielgud as the butler, who I said at the top of this review, he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this as the deadpan butler for Arthur. And he was so good in the role, and his character does die. Major spoiler. He does die in. And they weren't sure what he died of. I think maybe cancer or something. He died towards 3/4 of the way from the film, and during his death, that's when Arthur decided to get sober. Because for like a week he didn't drink at all for a week because he stayed in the hospital with his butler as he's dying in the hospital. And because he was there for so long, he dried himself out. And then when I was there, he fell more and more in love with Liza Minnelli's character. And that's why he decided to marry her instead of Joe Alkenberry's character. But at the end of the movie, he goes back to drinking at the end of the film anyway, or Arthur does. Of course, the one thing that did work in this movie as well is, of course, the theme song, which was "When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York City." It was co-written by 4 people, called Burt Bacharach, and Christopher Cross was the one who sang the song and co-wrote it, as well as Liza Minnelli's ex-husband. For guys, they did the Broadway show of his life on Broadway that Hugh Jackman played in the film. I forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Co-wrote the song and became an Oscar-winning hit. It also won the Oscar. So this movie won 2 Oscars, one for Best Supporting Actor and for the song. And for Arthur, even though nowadays, like I said earlier, the movie would not be believable today, being forced to marry somebody, otherwise you got cut off. You don't marry this specific girl, you get cut off. That kind of a plot might not work today, but worked back then, and it was an entertaining movie. And like I said, I like the chemistry between Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli. That's what worked between Dudley Moore and his butler. That worked. Those are and of course the music of this film. That's what worked. And that's what made the movie good. But nowadays, people will not believe the story. But it's time the movie worked for its time. It could be dated because now it's a 40-year-old movie. But I do remember seeing this movie when it was out. But I doesn't remember him being drunk. I doesn't remember the other stuff that Dudley Moore being drunk half the time. So that's my movie review of the movie Arthur. Please click on the video. Please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel at WallyC.com. So WDY, not C.com. The homepage and reviewer Chris Lee Moore. And please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.